And we're back. It feels like we were just talking, Kyle.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Yeah, we're back at it to talk Buffalo Bills 2024 schedule. It just dropped just about 2 hours ago, and we're gonna go through and take a look at it. We kind of went over things last night, so if you did watch that, you kind of saw that neither of us know what the hell we're talking about. No, we were actually pretty close, and I think you were actually a little bit more accurate than me. Before we dive into things, I do want to say that once again we are sponsored by Three Chord Bourbon, and got some good stuff right there. And yeah, that's the Three Chord Bourbon Cream, and we also have some Three Chord Amplify. This is the Amplify Rye whiskey. That's pretty good. And then lastly, yes, the Three Chord Signature. That is cool. So, want to thank Steve Shaw once again for hooking us up with Three Chord Bourbon. They are awesome. Make sure to check out their website. You can go to threechordbourbon.com, and I'll throw their website by musicians in support of musicians. And yeah, threechordbourbon.com for you to find out where you can purchase some, or if you live in a state that it's cool, you can purchase it online. So want to thank them once again for being our sponsor for this being our second episode. So we're going to kind of dive into things. Again, the schedule is out. And Kyle, is there anything or a game that kind of blew you away, big surprise, or kind of what you were expecting?
For the most part, it was kind of what I expected. When I first went through the schedule, the one thing that kind of stood out to me was that run of Kansas City, bye week, San Francisco, at LA, at Detroit. That's going to be a tough run towards the end of the season, second half of the season.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a gauntlet. Well, let's actually dive into the schedule, kind of pop it up here. So, yeah, week one, I think the sentiment is I'm happy with the level of opponent we were at. Again, New England, and we'll talk about that because I think that's super interesting on the tail end of playing them 2 out of 3 weeks in a row. That's
Hmm.
going to be wild. So opening up at home, 1 o'clock, CBS, Arizona Cardinals. I think that's a good spot to catch them. Any thoughts on that game right out of the chute?
I kind of agree with you as far as the level of opponent. It'll be interesting to see because they're going to be a relatively new team. I believe they had 11 or 12 draft picks. They've got Marvin Harrison Jr. It'll be cool to see him in Buffalo for his first game.
Yeah.
Um, and then on the other side of the field, we've got a little bit to prove ourselves. We've got a bunch of new receivers. So this will be a good, reasonable test to start out the season to see where we're at.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a good one. And this is our opportunity to have some revenge on the Hail Murray. This is the first
That's
time that
true.
we have met them since that happened, which is really funny because you know what? If it wasn't for that play, that would have been actually probably Stefon Diggs' signature games because that
Oh, yeah.
throw that Allen threw to him with like what 30 some seconds left in the
Yep.
corner of the end zone was just amazing. And yeah, so we get to have a little bit of revenge. Haven't seen them since then. So, but talk about, I mean, that obviously that was like 4 years ago. Boy, does the team look a lot different than the last time these
Yeah.
two teams met.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, on the 2024 schedule, Arizona is the only team that Josh Allen hasn't beaten yet in his career. So he could check that box.
That's a nice
And
little tidbit.
yeah.
I like that. That's some good trivia, Kyle. Jumping into our next game, and this is one of the first primetime games. We've got September 12th, week 2, 8:15, Thursday night football. with our good friends, the Miami Dolphins. We knew this one going in. Any additional thoughts on this before we kind of get into week number 3?
No, just kind of interested. Obviously, a Buffalo fan favorite, Jordan Poyer, is now down in Miami. Um, be interesting to see if Josh Allen breaks a run down the field and gets one-on-one with Poyer, how that ends up.
That would be awesome. It is going to be interesting. There's obviously so much drama between the two teams and just Allen's success against them, but that definitely adds just a little bit more flavor to in spice to an already delicious meal.
Yeah. And Cam Wilkins will not be in Miami for that game, which I'm pretty sure Josh Allen's pretty happy with. Christian Wilkins, my
I'm
bad.
gonna have to I'm trying to think of a funny like PG way of making a comment on that, and I don't think I can. But hey, that's yeah. You don't treat your daddy like that. You just don't treat
Mm-mm.
like that. All right, week number 3, Monday night. So we go from Thursday night to Monday. So that's at least they got a little bit of time between Miami and Jacksonville. What do we got? 12, 11 days. So that's not too bad. But Jacksonville, taking care of the state of Florida, that'll be home. That is a 7:30 Monday night game on ESPN, and I think that'll be a nice home game. I mean, there's not. I mean, there's not a whole lot of history between those two teams, even though we have played them in the playoffs twice. It just for teams that have met in the playoffs, I guess a decent amount. I mean, I don't know. I don't really have a ton of animosity towards the Jaguars. Do you?
Not really. More frustration. It seems like the last 2, 3 times that we've played them, the games have just been weird, like
Yep.
not typical Buffalo Bills games. They've gotten us a couple times. Obviously, they just signed Gabe Davis in the offseason, so there's that storyline. Um, but they did lose Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones, so I don't really know what to expect from Jacksonville this year. They could be, 8-9, 9-8 team, or if Trevor Lawrence lights it up like he's capable of doing, they could be a little better than that. So
I think that that's going to be a good matchup. So let's do this. Do you want to as we go through them, kind of pick who you think's a win or loss?
sure,
All right, let's do that. Our way too soon and way too early predictions. So, all right, Kyle, let's back it up. Arizona, right out of the chute. What do you got?
I've got Buffalo taking that one. A lot of rookies playing for Arizona. Kyler Murray's dangerous. I just think we have more weapons, and I think our defense is better too. So I think we'll win that one.
I'm with you. I think that again, a revenge game. I think that the Bills, more than any year that Allen's been here, I think there's going to be a chip on the shoulder. And I think coming right out of the chute, I think you're going to see that. So, yep, I'm with you. I think there's a W there. That week 2 game, what do you think?
So I went back and forth on this one because we've owned Miami like we discussed last night. Um, Without really knowing what the team's going to look like, that's kind of how I picked. Miami's got a bunch of weapons at wide receiver and at running back. And with the uncertainty of our secondary and how strong that could be, I took Miami to actually win that one in a close game.
It's their Super Bowl. They're
It
they're going
is.
to win their Super Bowl. Week 2, Miami always wins. Number 1, they always win the offseason. They've already done that. You just have to go to Dolphin X and see that they have already hoisted the trophy. And week 2, yeah, September, there's no better team in September ever than the Miami Dolphins. So I also have them getting the win on that one. So yeah, we're both at 1-1 heading into that Monday night game we were just talking about with Jacksonville. What do you have that one coming out as?
I've got the Bills winning that one. Miami's lost a bunch of weapons, and first primetime home game of the season. You know the crowd's going to be fired up. The Mafia's going to be there. I feel like Buffalo should win that one.
Should win that game. This is where I'm going to differ with you for the first time. I think this is where the season falls apart. I'm being facetious, but
Hmm.
last year we had a couple of stumbles, and I don't think that this is the same team or the same group as last year. However, um, as we just discussed, they've got our number. That's one of those teams that has our number. That Jacksonville game again, the London game last year was just weird. Um, I mean, just it's weird. They're one of those teams. I was talking with a Jaguars fan, and I think it's Houston. Is that to them? Like
Hmm.
they have our number, and Houston has their number. And I just I've so that one, I actually have that one as an L for the Bills. Yeah, don't come at me if I hope
I,
I'm wrong, but I that's where I'm at with that one.
Given our history, that's not tough to comprehend. So,
Yep, and it'll give the pundits and us, talking heads something to whine about, and the fair weather Bills Mafia fans the opportunity to climb off climb off the wagon early and run
mm.
around with their hair on fire, which is always fun. So that will happen week 3. All right, week 4 we are back on the road, and that is another night game, Sunday night, September 29th at Baltimore. Whew, that's that's a good one.
Yeah,
MV,
yeah,
I
like we
think
talked
it's gonna,
about.
and this is where I think Josh Allen's MVP run begins against the current reigning MVP. I think Allen is going to have that season. I will. That's another way too early prediction, but I think Allen is going to have an MVP season, and it's going to start on the road in Baltimore, where he just 3 weeks in, game 4, prime time. Josh always plays well in prime time, and he's going to punk the Ravens again and get the W. That's where I'm at with that one.
Yeah, also surprisingly have Buffalo winning that game. Historically, the Bills have played pretty well against Baltimore. We beat them in the playoffs 3 or 4 years ago.
Taron
Um,
Johnson.
yeah, um, yeah.
Is
I mean,
there a
obviously
bigger?
they added Derrick Henry.
Is there a bigger play in Bills history? Is that like if you were to have like a Mount Rushmore of plays, just plays in Bills history, that's got to be like the number one, right?
Oh, definitely. Um, that game was real close until that play, and then after that play, it just kind of seemed like the Ravens never had a chance to come back,
Yeah, and
even though
they knocked Jackson out of the game.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and like I said last night, obviously Baltimore added Derrick Henry, so they basically have a two-headed attack with Lamar breaking free out of the pocket, running with his speed, and then you've got the power game with Henry. But I think our defense showed last year that we've gotten better at the run, at stopping the run, or at least lowering the damage that it causes to us throughout the game. Um, Not really scared at their receiving weapons. I mean, Zay Flowers played pretty well last year. Um, and outside of that, they've got the tight end. We've struggled against Travis Kelce in the past, but this is not Travis Kelce. I just feel like that's going to be a statement game, like you said, not just for Josh Allen, but for the Bills. Um, so I have Buffalo winning that one.
All right. So far, you've got them 3-1. I'm at 500. So we're 2-2, heading into the Stefon Diggs game, which
It's
I
shocking.
think shocking that it's a 1 o'clock game,
Yeah.
right? In
Yeah.
at
I
Houston. So that's
figured that.
like an 11 o'clock a.m. game there. Are they two
Yeah.
hours?
I think they're 2 hours. Yeah.
It's like
I
brunch.
just, I figured that that would be something that the NFL would be salivating over putting in prime time. Um, but they didn't. And
You,
CBS gets another good 1 o'clock game.
yeah, they definitely do. 1 o'clock. Do you think that's a Do you think that's a Nance and Romo game?
Maybe. I mean, I didn't look at the schedule for that week for the rest of the NFL, but I would be hard pressed to find a game that would have more excitement going into it with the revenge factor.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like Nance and Romo do a ton of 1 o'clock games, but not many, warrant it. But I definitely am with you. I think that's definitely a premier game, and CBS has got to be super happy getting that one. I mean, getting that game
Mm-hmm.
alone, and then to getting it in the 1 o'clock window. Yeah, that's gonna be solid. And one of the cool things about this is, so actually let's finish the schedule. Let's do our wins and losses, and then we'll do some final takes on that. So what do you get? What do you got? Win loss?
This one I flip flop back and forth pretty much all evening. Um, I want badly for the Bills to go down and get that win. I just struggle again, not knowing how good our secondary is going to be. We may have an idea by this point in the season, but uh, Houston's loaded at wide receiver. They just brought in Mixon as the running back from Cincinnati. If Stroud continues to play like he played last season, I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think Houston actually pulls this one out.
All right, so you got a Bills loss. Um, I think this is going to be a state. I actually think this is going to be the statement game. I said, I predicted the week before that the MVP campaign begins. This one is one that I have my eye on from where Allen is in his maturity and development, because one of the things that we all know about Josh, and it's his greatest asset, but it is also his biggest weakness, is that he takes it on himself. And that, yes, he says all the right things, in that Stefan, helped, me develop to the player that I am. All the right things. He's taken the high road in the whole scenario and situation. But you know that he just wants to win that game. And if he's going to, he has to control himself. He's got to let
Mm-hmm.
the team help him. That's the style that you can see that that's what they're building. With the supporting cast around him, and in more of a ball control type of offense. And I think that this is going to be a statement game. I don't think that they're going to win. I think they're going to dominate. I think this one is going to be one where you're like, oh, okay, all right. Now we're all taking notice, and the MVP is in full swing. So I have a W.
I like your prediction more than mine.
All right, week 6 at the New York Jets. Another prime time game. Back to the Meadowlands. Monday night. Aaron Rodgers. What do you think? Is he still
So
going
I
to
made
be
my
playing? Will he still be
that
playing?
well that's the big question when it comes to this game. I made my prediction based off of the idea that he is going to be healthy. Um, we have struggled a little bit in the Meadowlands against the Jets, and their defense is obviously one of the best defenses in the league. I see this as actually, even though you got Allen versus Rodgers, I actually see this as a more of a defensive battle, another low scoring game. And I actually picked Buffalo to lose this one against the Jets.
All right. Let's back up real quick. Murray, Tua, Lawrence, Jackson, Stroud, Rodgers. Wow, that is
That's
a
a tough start.
gauntlet. So I'm telling you, man, The MVP train, choo choo, keeps a rolling. I've got a W in the Meadowlands. I think that that is going to be maybe the funnest game of the season. I think that I'm thinking Rodgers is going to be there. And what's going to be cool is that unlike last time, you're it. Let's I really do like. I hope the Jets end up being something this year. Dude, I'm sick of the Dolphins. I would just love for the Jets to be able to punk them and kind of like be the team that we battle with all year,
Hmm.
in the standings. And I would love nothing more than that game on prime time to be a shootout with Rodgers, settling in with really his new team, a year and a half later, but kind of knowing that he's fully in control, is healthy. That has the potential to be a awesome game, and I
Hmm.
think ESPN's pretty lucky to get that one where they are, where it's at again, as long as he lasts more than 4 snaps. So the primetime games are coming to an end. That pretty much is most of them. I think we've got a couple of them later on in the season. Yeah. So we go from
Yeah.
October 14th, the Jets game we just talked about, all the way to San Francisco on week 13 in December. So that's kind of cool. We kind of settle down and settle into the season at that point in time. So all right, so through 6 games, let's see here. You've got them having 3 losses, so really pretty much at 500, and
Hmm.
I have them with 2 losses. So yeah, we're close. Week 7, back to the 1 o'clocks. Just normal times. I love it. The Titans at
Yeah, the
Highmark at
Titans.
home. Nice 1 o'clock game. Should
The
be
Titans added
relaxing.
to their wide receiving core. They already have DeAndre Hopkins. They added Calvin Ridley from Jacksonville, Tyler Boyd from Cincinnati. So they've got some weapons. However, Will Levis played, I think, one game where you were like, wow, like he could be something last year, and then everything else looked kind of mediocre. So that being said, they lost Derrick Henry. I've got the Bills winning this one at home.
All right, so we got Mr. Bills with a win. This is yeah, see, this is one of those teams that does scare me. Like tend to have weird games with them too. I think the last one was we throttled them at
Hmm.
home. What was it? We That was like a second or third
Yeah, it
game
was
of the
week 2.
season.
Yep.
A couple of years ago. Um, but man, that I remember that game during. I think it was the COVID year where Allen slipped on that fourth and
Hmm.
was it goal or short, and ended up losing that. Should have won that one.
Yep.
Yeah, they always have tough games with Tennessee. Um, I've got this one. I've got this one as a win for the Bills. Got that one as a win for the Bills heading into week number 8. Get your frequent flyer miles on. We're heading out to the left coast, and a 4 o'clock Fox game with the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, I don't have much on this game. Obviously, Seattle has some good weapons at wide receiver. The travel always puts a little scare in me. An East Coast team going to the West Coast and vice versa. However, I think at this point, the Bills have kind of figured out who they are. I think that they win this one in Seattle.
I think this is the trap game. I think this is the one where you kind of look ahead. You've got Miami. I'm thinking Miami's going to be formidable, and chirp, 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 chirp. I could see the Seattle one being one that just kind of gets away from them a little bit. Seattle is scrappy, man, and you
They
never
are.
know what to expect. They play in a really tough division. I think that they're going to be pretty good. Geno Smith, right?
Yeah. I mean,
We've
two
seen
years
him
ago, he played
before.
really well. Last year, he played okay. Um, Yeah, I mean, I wish we had the Geno Smith from the Jets days because this would be an easy win.
At least we don't have EJ Manuel anymore. That's how
That's
long that
true.
guy's
I've
been playing,
upgrade.
man. That is a
Yeah.
long time.
Yep.
All right, so back to the Miami at home. For all the people that were, again, Dolphins X, that were chirping about that early game, it really looks like the powers that be. I don't know if they were listening to both teams whine and complain about weather on both sides, but it's like we don't get the sun and they don't seem to have to deal with the snow this year, so they should be happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I was expecting after they announced that we were going to get them early in Miami that it would be a little closer to the end of the schedule in Buffalo, but that's not the case. So we won't talk about weather or complain about it. Although if a snowstorm rolls in, you know, Saturday, Sunday
No,
of that
no,
weekend,
stop it. No, no. Not even football. I'm just talking about life. There's no
just
way.
yeah.
No. Like the week after
Well,
Halloween and it's happened.
yeah.
That snowpocalypse was like right in that time frame, maybe a week or so later, but yeah, that was yeah, no thank you. All right, so you got them winning or losing that one?
I have them winning that game in Buffalo. I had them losing in Miami, so I think they're going to split the series with Miami this season.
I do as well. I think that they're going to be winning that game. I also think that the conversation heading into that game, I think Tua is such an imposter. Like I don't like not even an imposter because I just don't think he's that good. And
Mhm.
I think that there's going to be I don't know how bad they're going to do, but I just think that there's going to be a conversation that there might even be talk of somebody else at quarterback at that point in time. I just I think that he's going to one hop a couple of early ones, and they're gonna need that game. How awesome would it be if that game ends up being kind of the nail in their coffin that early in the season? Wouldn't that be
Oh,
awesome?
yeah. Hopefully, Dolphins X would quiet down at that point. I wouldn't put any money on it
No, they
because they're
won't.
loud all year long. But yeah, that would be awesome
That
to
would
kind
be
of put
awesome.
them
So,
away. It would be
all right,
between us and the Jets.
yeah, yeah, we can concentrate on the Jets. All right, so you've got them winning at home, Miami, week 10, November 10th, 1 o'clock, Lucas Oil Field.
Yeah, my best friend's probably not going to be too happy with my prediction because he's a Colts fan, but I do have the Bills winning this one. However, I could easily see this being a trap game because it's going to be at Indy. Richardson, we're hoping, predicting that he's going to be healthy. Um, they added A.D. Mitchell in the draft, who's got a chip on his shoulder. He's made that very clear. They got Michael Pittman, obviously Jonathan Taylor at running back. So they're definitely formidable, but I see the Bills winning this in a close game.
All right, you've got them. So you have the Bills winning this one in a close one?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you got them as a win. I think they're also going to win this game. Um, Couple of interesting things about this game. First off, if you're a member of the Cuca Bills backers, I know that we talked briefly last night. This is one that I have circled as a potential road trip for our Bills backers group. That's drivable, 10 hours. I think that time frame of when it is in the season would work for a trip and an excursion, as it's not too close to the holidays, but weather should still be good. Money should still be good for everybody, not having to do Christmas shopping yet. So, hey, mark that on your calendars as a lead candidate for one of our road trips for this upcoming season. I also have an interesting stat that I heard from on I think it was on TikTok the other day from the Dan Lebertard show regarding the Colts. Um,
Oh, yeah.
did you see this one?
I did.
This is great. So if for those of you that are watching this, this was great. So there are four teams in the AFC East. You got Miami, you've got Buffalo, the Jets, and obviously the Patriots. And the question, I think his question was, is what position in the AFC East do the Jets have in total AFC East championships? So you got 4 teams in the division. And the answer is they are in fifth place. Indianapolis or Baltimore. Yeah, Baltimore and Indianapolis, who haven't been in the division since what, 90, was it 93, 94, somewhere in that ballpark?
I think it might have even been later because I think Peyton played his
Wow.
rookie season in the
Yeah.
AFC East.
Yeah, right. So that would have been in the very
So like
early.
98.
Yeah, so they have, I mean, it's been like over 25 years. And yeah, the Indianapolis Colts still haven't played in the division in 25 years and still have more division championships than the New York Jets. That is awesome. Yeah. So, a couple of fun tidbits about that game. Um, I'm I'm with you. I think that could be a tough game. Um, Indianapolis. You know what's funny is that like we used to play them a lot, and
Mhm.
it's funny. Like over the last few years, we haven't. I mean, we caught them that one year in the playoffs with when Rivers did his retirement tour there,
Mhm.
and they always seem to be in the mix. They're never really, well, that's not true. They're bad at the absolute perfect time. But other than
Mhm.
that, it's like they've been up when we've been down and vice versa, and we just haven't seemed to really catch up with them a lot. So it'll be nice to kind of visit that visit Lucas Oil Field. When's the last time the Bills played out there?
I don't remember because the last time we played them a couple years ago, that's when it was the big rain
Yep.
game up in Buffalo and they
Yeah.
ran the ball down our throats. But I can't honestly recall the last time we played in Indy.
Oh yeah, was that when Rex was the coach when they just absolutely no, that was a McDermott game, wasn't it? They
No, it was a
clowned us.
McDermott game. Yeah.
There was one year I think it may have been Rex Ryan's first home game. I think that may have been opening day where they played Indianapolis and actually played well. I remember Percy Harvin. There's a blast from the past.
Yeah.
Having just a monster game with Taylor that week. But all right, so here we go. Drum roll. Week 11. Taylor Swift. So I had the NFL Network show on, and it made me laugh. They had there was a graphic that said Taylor Swift concerts to schedule your season around, and it was like I think Miami. I don't know if they play Detroit this year. No, they don't play Detroit. But it was just like, oh my god! I'm like, is there really that big of a demographic of people that are Taylor Swift fans that are like scheduling? I guess there is, right?
It seems that way.
Like planning your schedule around seeing Taylor Swift and the Kansas City Chiefs. That's and are they actually? So you know that the NFL schedulers, Mike North and that whole group, all the things that go into the, get cooked into the cake. Is that actually something that they thought about when putting together this year's schedule?
It'd be an
Like
awfully
Taylor
weird
Swift concerts?
coincidence. Yeah. Because
That's
she
wild
is
if they did.
she is in Toronto the night before this game. So
They did. They
yeah.
freaking did do that, didn't they? Oh
Yep.
my god. I can't believe that they actually I how did you know that? Did you was that like is part of that package or was that something that
Well,
popped up on Twitter?
there was a Buffalo Bills reporter earlier today that tweeted out on X the run up to this game and how she had a concert in Toronto on Saturday, but she has no concert scheduled for the day of the game. So he was alluding to the fact that Taylor's going to be in the house at Highmark on Sunday.
Is this a conspiracy theory?
I I can neither confirm nor deny that.
I it, did they actually have that worked in to like as a part of like the algorithm of like putting the spreadsheet together of of this year's schedule? That's crazy if they did. I mean, from a money standpoint, it makes total sense because That's going to be eyeballs. Oh man, that's wild. That's wild. All right, that's that's great. So, and one of the things I also about the Kansas City game before we get into our prediction. Um, Last night I kind of made the comment about Josh Allen potentially being one of the first or only players to play a game every single day of the week. I think I saw something that said that Kansas City is playing games on 6 different days of the week this year
Hmm.
because they've got the Christmas game. I think they got a Black Friday game too, right? They play.
I believe so.
So you got Thursday kickoff, probably another one. They're playing I think they're playing a Friday Black Friday game, or they're playing a Friday game.
Hmm.
Sunday, Monday, Wednesday's Christmas, and they play a Saturday game. 6. That's wild. So
Hmm.
there's some way one of their Sunday games gets. Wouldn't it be weird if this one actually got rescheduled for Tuesday? You get a
That would be
snowpocalypse
funny.
game in mid November, and have Taylor Swift gets snowed in Buffalo and has to do like an acoustic unplugged performance at like the old Trelf or something like that in Buffalo. That'd be fun.
Or maybe hit up Applebee's with Marshawn Lynch.
Applebee's. She see, yeah, she's not cool enough to be a Wingstop or a Wingnuts person, is she? Do you think she actually eats chicken wings? She seems
It
like a
doesn't look
chicken.
like it.
She seems like a boneless kind of person to me.
She probably uses ranch too.
Oh, totally. Here's the thing. I get the ranch and uh, blue cheese debate because here's the secret: is that the blue cheese is different here. They mix it with ranch.
Hmm.
It's a conspiracy. We're all about conspiracy theories here on
Yeah.
Baker and Bills. All right. So let's get to our prediction here. You go
So we've
first.
dominated them in the regular season and not in the postseason, as everyone knows. Um, I actually, for reasons that kind of revolve around that, have Buffalo losing this game. And I won't get into the details until later on.
Okay.
Leave it with cliffhanger.
Like later on today or later on in in the season.
Later on today.
Okay. All right. Um, I like the way you're thinking. Bills win. I think that trend continues. But I also have something else too. So I think that's going to be one that after it's over, everybody's going to have the mindset and say, oh, here we go again. That's where we're at. I can't imagine. Oh man, can you imagine going into the bye week with a loss to the Chiefs?
Yeah, that would be that would be tough.
That'd be
I
2 years
mean,
in a row because they lost to was it Denver last year going into the bye?
yes. Was it Denver?
Because that
Yeah,
was when they made
I
the
think
move
it was.
to Brady, right? I believe was
Yes.
after the
Yep.
bye and kind of did I think they did the coaching change at that point in time. So, all right. So through the bye, you've got them at, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins, and 1, 2, 3, 4 losses. Not bad. Not bad. I think that's definitely playoffs. They may. Do you think a 7-4 record going into the bye? Where are they in the division?
That's a good question. 7-4. I mean, without looking at Miami and New York's schedule, it's hard to say.
I'm gonna bring that up now. You talk, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring up the Jets schedule.
Yeah, I mean, I see at that point in the season between Buffalo, Miami, and the Jets, I see them being fairly close within a game or two of each other. How that pans out, I'm not entirely sure, but I think those three teams will have winning records at that point in the season.
All right, let me find a good one here. New York Jets. We'll see. Look at their 2024 schedule. All right, here we go. Let's share this. Take a look at the Jets. All right. Ooh. All right, so they got San Francisco right out of the chute. They've got Tennessee. Okay, so here I would go loss, win, win, win. London. What do you think?
That could be a tricky game, whether Sam Darnold's playing at quarterback or J.J. McCarthy. I feel like that could kind of go either way, but if I had to pick, I'd probably take the Jets.
All right, so we got what? 3. So we got loss, win, 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 win. So we got 4 wins. I think we had them losing. So 4 and 3. Pittsburgh. What do you think?
Is that one's in
That
Pittsburgh?
that is a Sunday night football. That is in Pittsburgh.
That's going to be another tough game. I think.
I think that
I,
I think that they win that game. I mean, if as long as
yeah,
Rodgers is there, I think that they should
yeah.
beat Russell Wilson. So we got all right. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wins, 6 wins, loss. Let's say they beat Arizona. 7 wins, 8 wins. There's if they're decent, they should have 8 wins heading into the game. They when we hit
The
we
bye
both
week.
have the same bye,
Hmm.
so based on where we're looking at with what you're predicting, they would be up by a game.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could see him having the same record, or you know, they could even be behind us by a game. I wouldn't expect them to be behind us by more than a game if we do end up 7-4.
I'm gonna go ahead and pull up the Dolphins schedule here. See what theirs looks like. All right. All right. So they should. Yeah, they get. I guess we really do kind of start similarly. All right. So they should have 1, 2, 3. We had them beaten.
I think you counted some
Wait,
preseason.
am I looking at? Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like, what? Like, okay. So we've got. Um. Well, they've already won the Super Bowl by week 2, so they'll be 2-0, 3-0, 4-0, 5-0. Thereby
Hmm.
6, 7. By the time we get to them at 9, I think we both had them losing that game. So they've got 9 wins heading into the Rams game at LA
I think.
going
Well,
across.
we had Buffalo beating them at least once.
Yep, we
So
had them beating them
okay.
in week 9. So
Hmm.
that would be their like that conceivably based on this schedule, that could be their first loss of the season.
Yeah.
And then I think they go on a losing streak. I think they lose 2. I think they lose to the Rams.
Hmm.
I think that you have there's a legitimate chance that Buffalo, even those they start pretty well, if you've got them with 4 losses, there's a potential that they're in 3rd place in the division at that point in time, heading into the bye. And you know what? I don't mind that. Like, I would love for the chatter to be, yep, the king is dead. King is
Yep.
dead. Dolphins, yep, they're running away with it. I mean, their schedule down the stretch isn't even off. I mean, they got some. I mean, New England always plays them tough. Packers should get them. Jets are probably going to get them
Jets.
there. Then they got to play
Texans.
Houston. I mean, they got tough. They got. I mean, the end of their season is kind of tough, and that would be. I mean, wouldn't it be great for the Jets to do to do to them what we did to them last year?
Yeah.
And what and that actually what would I don't know. Even if the Jets had to win the division that way, I still think I'd be okay with that. As long as we make the playoffs, if the Jets were able to, you know, just shit on them like that, I'd be okay with that.
Me too.
All right, so heading into the bye, there are we being pessimistic or are we being realistic here?
I tried to take the most realistic approach when I went through the schedule today. Um, as we've already discussed, you and I see differently on a few games where I very easily could see it going either way. Um, Especially like the Baltimore, the Houston, the Jets game. Those games are kind of toss ups at this point. Before we've seen them take the field, they seem like toss ups.
I think it's interesting. So you have them 7-4 going into the bye. I have them eight
Mm-hmm.
and three. So my 8-3 has them battling it out for probably. I think it's going to be first or second. I mean, I think just like last year, you never know what's going to happen. Hopefully, it doesn't happen to us. But like whether it's an injury to Rodgers or Tua's strokes out or something. I mean, that could be a realistic possibility. So then you take a look at, like you had mentioned it earlier, that gauntlet. You play the two Super Bowl teams back to back. Thank God you got the bye between them. But then it is on. We get some heavy NFC action. I mean, you get San Francisco. As I said last night, Los Angeles, I think they're going to be a team that is going to be right up there. I think they've got their salary cap woes behind them. They have a
Mm-hmm.
great coach, but I'm kind of getting ahead. I'm actually excited about that game. I know that the sexy game is San Francisco, and let's talk about that one. But I'm actually really excited about that Rams game. Um, San Francisco, Week 13, snow. We just got done, and you know what's really cool is that bye week. There's no. This is like one of the first times that around the holidays there's no Bills football right around that Thanksgiving time.
Mm-hmm.
How is that? Is that good or bad? I mean, what are we
I
going
mean,
to
I've always
talk
been.
about with our families? Right?
Well,
Oh,
I'm sure there's going to be plenty to talk about in an election year, but well, at least for some
it'll
people.
already be done.
Yeah.
Well, that'll give you a chance to, like, do your protesting or rioting or whatever, depending on what what side prevails.
Yeah.
Get you a chance to make your plans for a trip to Washington in January. Um, I that is actually weird though. Like thinking about there's not going to be a Bills game around Thanksgiving. I can't even remember ever in my lifetime that being a thing. I'm sure that there's been a year, but that's going to be an interesting week. I'm actually going to have to hang out with family. Oh, all right. Well, we'll have to plan that. Um, so yeah, we're going to win the bye week. San Francisco, man, they get a lot of rest. I mean, not only do you get the week, but you get almost an extra day too, with that 8 p.m. start. Obviously, having to travel nowhere. That's a home game. What do
Hmm.
you think? Is this one that's you got them winning it?
So when I evaluated this game, the bye plays a huge role. My prediction of them losing to Kansas City plays a huge role. I think they're going to have a chip on their shoulder at that point. They're going to be battling for the division. They're going to be rested. Interestingly enough, under Sean McDermott, the Bills are 6-0 after a bye week.
Good point.
Um, and again, it's December in Buffalo. San Francisco's got to travel across the country. I know just as a casual fan, you probably look at this San Francisco and you chalk it up as a loss because they were in the Super Bowl. They've been in the Super Bowl a couple times in the last few years. I don't see it going that way. I see Buffalo coming out quick, fast, rested, uh, and taking care of business at home on Sunday Night Football.
I'm I'm with you. I also have the Bills winning this one, much for the same reason that you do. I like the stat of McDermott and the team being really rolling after a bye. I also think that when it comes to matchups, San Francisco is just the Miami of the NFC, and we play well against them. This is a similar style,
Mhm.
concept with the running in Shanahan. I think he's a better coach than McDaniel's, but I think that they'll be able to handle this one. Um, Man, they again haven't played them in 4 years. Last time we played them was the COVID year, and that was also in Arizona. Yeah, so this will be the first time that we've played them in a long time. Have you? So of all these teams, you got some interesting teams coming into town. We've got Arizona and San Francisco. Have you ever seen either of those teams in person?
I don't believe that I have. Most of the games that I've been to, aside from the few years that I lived in Buffalo, were division games: Dolphins, Patriots, Jets. Um, I'm pretty sure I have not seen either of these teams in Buffalo.
Yeah, I have not either. I've man, I'm trying to remember when the last time San Francisco was here. Who wa- was that Kaepernick? I think that he played here and they handled him. I think it might have been one of his last games. That's how long it's been since they've been here. So yeah, we both have them winning that game. Then you go from one California team and no Cal at home, heading all the way across the country to Los Angeles, SoFi Stadium, Fox 425. Now we're into the Christmas season, 12:08. I'm stoked for this game. I think Matt Stafford is one of the most. I mean, even though he's got a Super Bowl MVP, he doesn't seem to be in that mix of conversations. Like even Aaron Rodgers seems to be above him in most people's, kind of lists as far as the quarterbacks currently. And I totally get it. But I think that like I was saying, I think that their salary cap woes are behind them. They got a
Mhm.
really good coach. They got some stuff to figure out on defense with some big holes to big shoes to fill. But I think Matt Stafford is going to have himself a year, and I think that this is going to be one of those games that you may not be like, oh, that could be a good one. I think this is going to be one of their premier games of the year. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, me too. I kind of like the Houston game earlier in the season. I see this one as a shootout. Um, Going back to what you said, they have some questions on defense. We have some questions on defense. I would hope at this point in the season we've got those figured out, or at least know where we're at. But I see this being a shootout, and I actually have the Bills losing this one.
All right, so we disagree again, and now we're kind of like right there uh, in the same spot. All right, so you've got them losing to the Rams. I've got them winning. Then we're heading to our second home, Detroit, Ford Field, for a Sunday 4 o'clock game on CBS. These are all great. These 4 o'clock games. I mean, once you get into uh, after San Francisco, it's like 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 1 o'clock, one. Oh, this is so good. Dude, December is going to be so so stress free. Not a ton of anxiety of like having to schedule your life around this stuff, and that's going to be enjoyable. All right, so Detroit, I have no idea. Like, I mean, is Detroit going to be Detroit, or are they taking a step back?
I think Detroit is probably going to be as good as they were last year. I'm not saying necessarily means that they're going to go as far as they did in the playoffs, but um, they have a really good running game. They've got some good receiving threats. Um, Jared Goff just got paid what $55 million a year for
Right.
4 years. Um, this was a really hard game for me to pick. Obviously, it's in Detroit. Uh, we escaped with a win against Detroit last time we played them. It was a very close, nerve-wracking game. Um, Battled for the last couple of hours trying to figure out what to pick on this one. I actually have them winning at
You,
Detroit.
all right. So you've got them winning at Detroit, and I do as well. All right. Now we get into the early Christmas presents. I mean, I don't know. We had a real stinker against the Patriots that almost completely derailed this season last year. Um, even though we've had success against them, they have not been easy. Other than that one, the perfect playoff game, and then like even the game where after Damar Hamlin, that was, I mean, that was just felt like divine providence that they won that game. But the Patriots, it's always, I mean, anytime it's any division game is going to be tough. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I think the one at home, I think this is a win. I think that I think the Highmark right before Christmas is going to be a win, 1 o'clock on Sunday. Um, I think this one's going to be just by the books. I don't think anything crazy. My question is does Drake May make the start? Is he going to be the quarterback for the Patriots at the time, or is it still going to be Brissett?
Well, my guess at that point of the season is um, they're going to want to see a little bit of what Drake May has to offer after drafting him third overall. I think he's playing by that time, um, getting some reps in after sitting for a good chunk of the season and kind of learning behind Brissett. So I think it could potentially be his first start as a quarterback. That would be brutal for him in Buffalo, but I'd love to see it.
What do you think? Win loss.
I've got Buffalo winning this one.
All right, so we both got them winning that one. Then we head to the second game that I wanted to highlight as a potential Bills backers trip game. I think this one I've kind of gotten circled as a game that might be a really fun home tailgate party for the Cuca Bills backers. Many things could come into that. If the Jets fall apart, tickets will be cheap, and if they don't, it'll be good. We all I think hope that's the case. I mean, it would be nice to have things sewn up by then, but maybe Aaron Rodgers graces us with a full season, and this one is an incredibly meaning game. And I mean, hey, we may be just neck and neck going down the stretch, and this might be like I wonder. This could be one that maybe gets flexed, and that would suck. I like the 1 o'clock spot, and I hope it stays there. But there's a potential if there's a race like that could be one that gets flexed to a Sunday night, or even
Yeah,
maybe just a 4 o'clock, and I'd be okay with that.
yeah, yeah. Again, I make my predictions just based off of players staying healthy. So uh, regardless, I do have Buffalo winning this one at home. I had them losing earlier in the season in the Meadowlands. Um, this could potentially be for the division or a playoff spot. So um, Josh Allen's always responded well when something like that's on the line. Home game, late December. The Jets play inside all year long when they're at home. Um, I have Buffalo winning this one at home.
All right, I do as well. I think that I just think that we have their number. The whatever questions there are about McDermott and maybe some decisions in big games. Number one thing we haven't talked about is the whole hiring of the I can't remember the guy's name, but the official as the officiating liaison. Have you seen that?
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's brilliant, man. I think I'm actually so impressed. Like it made me think a little, do kind of a double thought about McDermott because after that Tyler Dunn article last year, the kind of the takedown hit piece about that, I think that there's aspects of him that I think maybe he's self-aware. I mean, and whether he read it or not, or stuff got back to them, or maybe it's something that Bean had a conversation with him about. Kudos to them, and for him to like identifying, hey, I'm not good at like these end of game decisions, when to throw the flag, like maybe analytics. I'm assuming this guy's going to have a little bit of say in crossover with that,
Hmm.
and just having someone in your ear that's their freaking job. And as an official, your mind works in a very different way than a coach, and they're not having to worry about all of the plays and the personnel and all that. They're just worried that guy's job is down, distance, clock,
Hmm.
scenario, numbers. I think that's cool, and it's progressive, man, because this is the first time, or at least it seems like the first time any team's done it, and I think it just adds to the Bills, kind of, being ahead of the curve when it comes to this kind of stuff. I think weren't they the
Hmm.
first to have uh, a woman coach as well?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. Just continuing to be first in really cool stuff. What you have any take on that move?
I agree with you. I think it's a brilliant thing. I know a lot of my personal issues with McDermott have been related to those things: when to throw the challenge flag, sometimes clock management, um, whether or not to take a penalty at a certain time. These decisions that coaches have to make on the fly, with very they've got so much other stuff going on, and with the Bills bringing John Perry in from ESPN, I think that just, like you said, it's a self-aware move on McDermott's part, and that takes some of the pressure off of him late in games when he's got other more important things to
Yeah,
worry about, where have someone just chime into him and be like, hey, just so you know, this and this, so he doesn't have to think about that.
I'm I'm impressed with. I think that he's still growing as a head coach, and I mean, I have to
Hmm.
say, like I mean, I don't know if you caught any of the previous podcasts that I had done with Rick Bates. Rick was very pro McDermott, and at you know right about the bye week, I'm just like, cool. We're gonna get rid of the coordinator. Nothing's gonna change. It's symptomatic of really what the what the or symptomatic of what the problem really is, and that was him and his leadership. And I kind of have come off that because I just think that to make those decisions and to take a step back and one number one is that I think Babich is actually going to be the defensive coordinator this year. I think that he's got a guy that he trusts, that he's
Hmm.
really been his mentor, and seems to be well liked and respected. And from the stuff I've seen with Embedded, really seems to be the guy that's going to be in control of the defense. Obviously, McDermott's going to have his hand but I think he's going to be more of an administrator and more of a kind of an executive, almost like kind of overlooking things, and that's good. Like
Hmm.
you know, having an extra voice in a guy that hopefully, no coach, we're not doing that. Put that back in your pocket,
Hmm.
or no, do not take the time out here, or do take the time out here. Um, it'll be interesting to see like where the guidelines or where his responsibilities or tasks kind of are and end, and how much say he has in like on the field stuff is going to be interesting with
Hmm.
Perry, I think.
Yeah, and you're the coaches always have someone up in the booth, or a multitude of people that are reviewing the plays and understand what the rules are. But Perry kind of brings that. Uh, how would a referee view it? How would a
Yep.
referee call it? And that's different than someone up in the booth who just knows the rule book and says throw the flag.
Yep.
So I really like the move.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how that works. All right, heading into our final home game, or excuse me, final game. Uh, Patriots on the road, Gillette, and this is a TBD. So I'm assuming it's like one of those weird Saturday. So what is that? Saturday the 20, or that'll be 29th. Yeah. So what is that? Like the
The
fifth,
fourth, I think
fourth,
the
fifth,
fourth if it's
somewhere
on
in there.
Saturday. Yeah,
So yeah, Saturday or Sunday, either one would be cool. And then hopefully we're talking about sitting Allen for a week. Hopefully they'll have it wrapped up, or that game doesn't mean anything based on playoff standings, and maybe we all get a break. I could
yeah,
probably use a break week 18. I'm sure you could use a break. Josh Allen will be banged up. It'd be nice to have him take a break. Who knows? Maybe we're just talking completely out of our ass, and the Bills are going to be um, 15-2, and
that would be
that
nice.
would be nice. That would be nice. I think we're pretty realistic here. Um, yeah, that last game's weird. I have them winning it. Um, I just think that they're going to be on a run. The last few years they have finished strong, and I don't think that trend is going to change.
Yeah. Uh, when I evaluated this game, I kind of took a similar approach. I have them winning um, in the scenario that the Bills are still fighting for a playoff spot. Um, if they already have a playoff spot, especially the division locked up, I could see them sitting Allen, sitting several players so that they can go into the postseason, hopefully, fingers crossed, as
It's
healthy
going
as
to
they can
happen.
possibly be.
All right, so you've got them with a win. All right, so here we go. Kyle has them with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 wins. So you've got them at 12. And what is that? 5.
Yep.
And yours truly has them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
14-3.
I'm telling you, I think the early part's going to be rough. I think that there's going to be a time at the beginning of the season where people are going to be like, fire the coach. We suck. Season's over. And I think and we both have them in second or potentially third place at the bye. I mean, we both did, but dude, man, I'm telling you, Allen's gonna have his MVP year. I think that they have cleared part of the Diggs thing, and part of what they're doing is clearing the slate. I mean, it is his team now. He
Mm-hmm.
is the face of the franchise. There is nobody else. I mean, there's no Allen, and it's Allen. Like, there are other guys that obviously are going to have success for them to be good this year, for them to make the playoffs, for them to go 14-3. But that's what an MVP candidate looks like. I mean, we're going to see a couple of them this year on our schedule, Mahomes, and I don't think it's crazy. I think Jackson has had similar talent around him over the years, and I'm telling you, man, that I'm calling it now. This is my, like, go ahead, clip this, you know, bookmark it, bring back, laugh at me later on. Way too early prediction, but 14-3, Josh Allen, NFL MVP.
Well, me personally, I thought Allen was MVP last season, but we won't get into that too much. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of why Lamar ended up winning over Josh Allen last year had to do with the whole Diggs thing. Like, I just feel like it's almost like an excuse. Well, of course,
Right.
Josh Allen's put big numbers. He's got Stephon Diggs, and who does Lamar Jackson have? He has an old Odell Beckham Jr. and a rookie Zay Flowers, and so
Laporta,
they and
I mean, yeah.
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 So if Josh Allen does, especially what you say he's going to do this season, I don't know how you don't give him the MVP because we got a bunch of basically no name receivers. We
Right.
don't have a star receiver. And James Cook, although he had a good season last year, they're not talking about James Cook in the same sentence as Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor and backs like that. So if he balls out again this season and puts up, big numbers and doesn't win the MVP, then I guess I need to schedule a trip to the NFL headquarters and start protesting.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think you nailed it with just the Diggs thing last year, and that being why Jackson, really kind of pulled that out at the end. The one thing I kind of heard is, just like with the Diggs conversation and discussion, and Diggs kind of seeming to have the attitude like that he made Allen. I mean, he was a
Mm-hmm.
good wide receiver when he was with Minnesota, but what was the most yards and catches that he had when he was there? It was like he never broke 1,000. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't
I
remember,
don't
but
think
I
he ever
do know
did.
that.
And who were his quarterbacks? Case Keenum,
Mm-hmm.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Yep.
That I mean, because I don't think Cousins was there when he was there, was he?
I don't
He
remember. It
may have
was
caught,
real close.
but like, yeah, I just and Allen, they were okay before he got here. I do. I mean, and I think that Diggs definitely was good. I mean that those
Mm-hmm.
up until this last year, like the year before, and that COVID in the year after, dude, he was awesome. Like that
Mm-hmm.
was elite. And I mean, it takes two to tango, and they were special. That I mean, those two guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that we got to see it, but I
Mm-hmm.
definitely think that I think Allen is going to have a season where we're probably not. I mean, it's probably going to be a bad year for anybody that drafts Buffalo Bills in fantasy football. Other than Josh Allen, I think that it's probably going to be maybe Dalton Kincaid as a tight end, but and maybe James Cook. But I think when it comes to receivers, I think it's going to be slim pickings, and I don't think it's going to be really great. I think that he's going to spread the wealth. I think that he's going to put the ball all over the place, and I think that each guy's going to have. I think there's going to be guys that have big games. You're just not going to know when and where.
Yeah, and me
14
personally,
and 3, dude.
yeah. Well, and that's honestly how does a defense prepare for a team that doesn't have a number one wide receiver, but a bunch of really good receivers? Like, who do you game plan
Right.
around? Yeah, and now we've got the speed like we talked about last night with Curtis Samuel, um, Valdez Scantling if he does make the roster. Um, a lot of people aren't even talking about KJ Hamler. I, as a Penn State fan, I watched him play at Penn State, and he's got some speed too.
Yep.
Um, he makes the roster. That's going to be fun to watch as well. But yeah, it's very easy to plan against Diggs. It's not as easy to plan against who's going to be the guy this game. They might start off planning against Shakir or Kincaid or maybe Keon Coleman. Um, but like you said, I think they've got enough depth at the receiver position where they're going to be able to spread the ball around. And good luck to everyone else trying to stop it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Good luck trying to stop it. And I think having Allen just seemingly like they want like I talked about last night with the guys that they brought in the size. And the one thing that I've heard a couple times is when him when he was talking about Keon Coleman is that he wanted to play with Keon Coleman. And you have to I wonder why. But like looking at the way Allen plays and what he needs is that he needs a guy. Like I think that Samuels is going to be a guy that's going to be kind of the role of Diggs. That's going to be that guy that runs precise routes, is there exactly where Allen knows he's going to be. So when a play is designed and it goes well and he has time, I think Samuels is going to be the guy. I think that
Mm-hmm.
him and Kincaid are going to be the guys that benefit from a clean pocket Allen throwing. I think what Allen is looking forward to and excited about is kind of what Coleman did with the Gabe Davis and even Dawson Knox style, where it's when the play breaks down and when Allen gets moving and just being so creative in improvising, extending plays. And how many times have we seen him put the ball, like, remember against the Patriots when he's like jumping out of bounds and like throwing and
Hmm.
hits Gabe Davis in the end zone for a touchdown? And you're like, what are you doing? I mean, what are you doing? And then the next minute, next like split second, you're like, that was the best play I've seen this year. I think that that style of play, that basketball mentality, jump ball, like, hey man, I can make tight throws, and if I can throw it to a guy that is crafty and is really great with leverage and has hands, that's going to be exciting. And I truly think that when you hear him saying that's why I want to play with him, that's why he wants to play with him, is that style of play. It's almost going to be like basketball.
Hmm. Yeah, especially when they're in the red zone,
Yep.
down close to the goal line. I mean, of course, speaking as a Bills fan, it's really exciting um, at the prospect of having Keon Coleman, Kincaid, Knox with a two tight end set. You've got James Cook as a threat in the backfield, and then you've got Shakir and Samuel running across the goal line. Like to me
Yeah.
that would be a nightmare to try to defend. And when the play breaks down, like you said, you've got a couple guys that can go up and
Yeah.
get it in the end zone.
I mean, they've got yeah. I mean, and guys that have size, excuse me, and hands. I heard an interesting thing today. Guy Shope and the Bulldog in Buffalo on GR, I believe had like uh, a chief sideline reporter or a beat writer. And one of the things that he was saying about Scanlon is he is a run blocker and likes it. Like, he
Mm-hmm.
likes to get physical and he enjoys run blocking, which is unheard of when it comes to these, prima donna wide receivers. But I think that there's a mentality with the guys that they're bringing in like that, and that's the thing, is that like all of the guys that they've brought in, you can laugh at them. You can make jokes all you want, but like they all have a skill set. And Scanlon, yeah, he may have dropped a ball, but he he also caught a pretty important one too.
Yeah, couple of them. He caught one in
Yeah,
the Super Bowl.
couple of them.
Got the
I
game
think,
sealer against Baltimore.
yeah, and if he can like kind of relive his 2022 season, um, yeah, I, and don't underestimate just the attitude of, or having a guy with the attitude and the experience of winning some championships, and like
Hmm.
that's huge. I mean, that's kind of one of the reasons they brought Von Miller in, is that attitude and just adding guys that have championship experience. But
Hmm.
um, I think we covered it. So they're gonna, 14-3. Okay. You got them going 12-5. I think that's probably more realistic. Eh, Playoffs, we'll chat about that another time. Unless you have any
Okay.
thoughts about playoffs. Do you have any thoughts about playoffs, or is that way, 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 way too early? Soon predictions.
Well, we could definitely talk about the playoffs at a later time, but going back to me having Kansas City lose or Kansas City win in Buffalo, I
Yep.
just feel like we're headed on another crash course to meet Kansas City in the playoffs. And maybe this year it switches and we lose in the regular season and finally get the W in the postseason. It's got to happen. And with Kansas City losing L'Jarius Sneed, um, that hurts their
Mhm.
secondary. Their front line, you can run against them. That was on display several times last season. Um, I think when it all comes down to it, I think this is the year that Buffalo could potentially beat them in the playoffs.
I think
But
it's going to be a home game
we'll
too.
see.
I think even with your 12-5, um, Harbaugh's in their division. I think the Raiders are going to be better. Um, I think the Broncos are. I mean, that's the thing, is that Broncos could be good. I mean, I think Peyton's a good coach. They were not good last year, but they were still a tough out.
Yeah,
Well,
and they beat Kansas
Miami.
City last
Uh,
year.
you're right, right. And the Raiders got them on Christmas Day last year. Um, that game wouldn't it be? I think the tide has turned. Yes, they won the Super Bowl. They beat us in the playoffs. I think the tide has turned. I think that now they're going to have to come here multiple times a year, and I want to see them again. And we'll have to see if Taylor Swift has any concert schedule. So is it like her? Is she still on the Eras tour, or is this like a whole nother one?
That question is not one that I can answer.
Oh, I was hoping to
I'm
trap you into like outing you as like a huge Swiftie.
no, no, I don't listen to too much Taylor.
You know what? I'm not a hater. I wouldn't say I like Taylor Swift, but like as a DJ, I like music that moves people, and I have an appreciation, and I've seen her music when you play it make people lose their minds, which is cool. Um, but that being said, I didn't even have a problem with her like on all of the TV broadcasts last year until they played the Bills. Like even
Hmm.
beforehand, even up until then, I was like, oh okay, whatever. Then it's like that Pavlov's dog thing where it's just like every time they show her, it's because something good happened to the Chiefs, usually her boyfriend, and so she's cheering. And when something good happening for the Chiefs, something bad's happening to the Bills, and it makes
Hmm.
you feel like I don't want to see her on TV because that just means that bad things are happening to my team, and that kind of just stuck with me.
Yeah,
And then also it happened during the playoff game too. So not a hater, but I'm fatigued.
yeah, that's kind of how I'd classify myself. I understood why the NFL was doing what they were doing. They made a lot of money off of it. That's their end game with just about everything. But I just got to the point where I was like, okay, like I'm just kind of tired of this.
Did you see the money that is reported for the Netflix games?
I have not.
150 million a game.
That's how much
Three
Netflix paid. Wow.
and it's the first truly international game rights. So that will be so the NFL is truly international, and it's like a fascinating kind of thinking about how like this is the first with you like Netflix, but it's like another partner. They it's a platform that skews younger demographic, and it's truly international, European, Asian, Australian, like
Hmm.
that is global. So for them to have that, um, what I think is going to be interesting about that is I kind of caught Pat McAfee talking about it, and they had an interesting, I could tell who's going to be the pregame and the on-air broadcasters for that game, and they kind of shot their shot with that. That would be fun, huh? Pat
Oh yeah.
McAfee and that crew handling the pre and post game and halftime stuff, and it'd be interesting to see who gets the play by play on that because I mean I was when it comes to that stuff, I think like Amazon, like year one, the I think NBC was helping with them, and then kind of like Al Michaels obviously came over, but it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, and that's I mean $300 million.
Yeah. And if the NFL's smart, they would incorporate Pat McAfee and his crew because I don't think there's another sports program that's hotter than him right now. And he's all over the place. He's doing WWE stuff. He's always at the college football playoff games, kind of doing their own broadcast. He's
Yep.
blowing up right now. So, in the
It,
name of eyes and money, I think Pat McAfee and his crew is probably the best way to go.
yep, I think you're right, and I think if they continue and do a job like they did with the draft, we could spend Christmas with Bill Belichick too. How fun
Yeah,
would that be?
yeah. A lot more fun now than I would have thought about 2 months ago. I can tell you that.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, man. Hey, let's wrap this up. I appreciate you hopping on with me tonight. That was a lot of fun, and
Hmm.
I'm ready for playoff football now.
Yeah, we just have what, 8 more months 7 more months.
What do we got? So training camp starts pretty much the last week of July. So we've got
Hmm.
2.5 months
Yeah, two and a
until
half months until it all begins.
until then. You just got to drink a bunch of Three Chord Bourbon.
I agree.
All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for hopping on with us. And let us know in the comments if you think we're crazy. You probably think I'm crazy. You probably think Kyle absolutely nailed it with his predictions. But, go ahead, give us your predictions in the comments. And I want to thank you for hopping on with us. That was a lot of fun. Kyle, we'll do this again sometime soon.
All right, sounds good.
All right. Have a good one.
All right.
Bye.